Okay, Krystal, what are you taking a look at?
So friends, over the past couple of days, I've been listening to the Huma Abedin memoir. It's called Both and: A Life in Many Worlds. I'd already watched Wiener, the documentary about her husband's aborted attempt at a comeback when he got caught yet again sexting a bunch of random internet ladies, including a 15-year-old girl. I'd already read the pre-released excerpts from Huma's book detailing where she was and how it rocked her when these repeated betrayals became front-page news. So I wasn't actually all that interested in the Anthony Weiner part of the Huma Abedin story. What I was really after was a glimpse behind the curtain of Clinton power. After all, as I argued last week, few people have helped to architect our present political moment as directly as Bill and Hillary Clinton. From Bill's cementing of the Democratic Party as a thoroughly neoliberal organ shipping jobs overseas, undercutting unions, and embracing white-collar professionals, to Hillary pushing an elaborate Russian hoax in order to distract from her own painful political losses, we live in the political world that the Clintons birthed. Huma, she was there for all of it. She started as an intern in the First Lady's office during the first Clinton term. She was there for the Lewinsky scandal, for Hillary's decision to stay with Bill for Hillary's Senate run, her terrible Iraq war vote, her loss to Obama. Huma was by HRC's side as she flew around the globe meeting with world leaders as her family foundation raised money from some of the very same global elites whose lives and fortunes could be impacted by State Department policy. She was there for Benghazi and the private server and the DNC rigging and WikiLeaks and Pokemon Go to the polls and the devastating loss to Trump. She was there for all of it. Surely her memoir would contain some shred of honesty, however accidental, about the Clintons and their lifelong quest for power and elite status. Nope, not at all. Instead, Huma offers a Disney storybook version of her many years serving the Clintons in general and Hillary in particular. It is a whitewashing so thorough and so brazen, one actually has to marvel at it. The closest that Huma comes to even the whiff of a criticism of HRC was recounting how one time as a young staffer, she was gruffly and angrily rebuked by Hillary because Huma had committed the sin of failing to fill up Hillary's plate at a fundraiser dinner. But only a few hours later, Hillary apologized to Huma, turning this potentially negative story into a parable about how even when exhausted and frustrated, Hillary always ultimately does the right thing. And that's it. The rest of the book is nothing but wonder and awe at Hillary Rodham Clinton. Any failings were the fault of other people, or the press, or even the fault of Huma and her fellow aides. In Huma's telling, Hillary could never fail, only be failed. To give you a feel, let me just walk you through some of how Huma spins Hillary's loss to Obama back in 2008. So you will recall that in HRC's primary versus Obama, while the youthful change candidate was easily lapping up money online from young voters energized by his message, Hillary was stuck working the old Democratic elite donor circuits, raising dollars one bad chicken dinner at a time. So here's the spin that Huma put on this particular predicament. Quote, HRC made the decision not to cede any state, to meet every voter where she could, to raise the millions needed to fund our massive operation. We set aside an extraordinary amount of time for fundraisers. In the first 4 months of fundraising, we crushed the competition. While online fundraising was beginning to gain steam, and Obama in particular was beginning to benefit greatly, with HRC, we found that supporters wanted to see her, touch her, talk to her. No. HRC didn't fail at online fundraising because her supporters were somehow more tactile than Obama's. It's because they were all part of the established donor class. They had a transactional expectation of an ass-kissing phone call and a photo with the candidate that they could use to show off to their rich friends. Others wanted White House access for directly corrupt and transactional reasons. Meanwhile, young voters who were giving online were sick of Hillary and Bill and the whole Clinton operation and picking Obama instead. Hillary's catastrophic third-place finish behind Obama and John Edwards in Iowa was given a similarly hazy treatment. In the real world, Clinton's disastrous Iraq war vote combined with campaign arrogance and an electorate desperate for new leaders after the terrible Bush years, that led to this disastrous outcome. In Huma's memoir, however, she instead grouses that voters were too distracted by the flashy antics of her rivals to focus on learning about the policies that would be in their best interest. Quote, though Hillary's proposals were as thought out, considered, comprehensive, detailed, precise, and polished as she was, at times it felt as if she was trying to get the kids to focus on their homework while everyone else was setting off dazzling fireworks. And in the end, according to Huma, it wasn't Hillary who failed and lost Iowa, but her staffers. After allowing that possibly there was just no way to beat Obama at that time in that year, Huma concludes, quote, In this very moment, it was clear that we as a team had failed her. What had worked so well in the Senate was our lean operation, laser focused on very specific results. In contrast, our presidential campaign had felt like an ocean liner from the start. Expensive, expansive, slow to turn, and now it had sprung a leak. Our bloated campaign was sinking. Of course, back in the real world, the size and nature of a candidate's campaign is the primary responsibility of that candidate, but not in this book. Instead, Hillary's loss was the fault of Obama's fireworks, easily distracted voters, and campaign staffers. In Huma Abedin's world, Hillary Clinton is always, always blameless. And it's like this throughout the entire book. Huma justifies Hillary's Iraq War vote, a vote which Huma herself personally objected to, by complaining about the press and the public failing to understand the nuance of Hillary's rationalizations for that vote. The corrupt misdeeds of the Clinton Foundation, they aren't mentioned at all. Huma even pushes back at the idea that Hillary used her New York Senate seat as a stepping stone for her presidential ambitions, insisting at key moments all throughout Hillary's career, political plotting, that Hillary was just called to serve, and that weight of public service responsibility forced her reluctantly to seek the White House twice. She lost to Bernie because of sexism, and because she had to spend so much time on her hair and makeup. She lost to Trump because of, in Huma's telling, one word: Comey. The rationalization and justifications would be hilarious if they were not also so sad. I actually nearly spit out my coffee when I heard Huma describe Hillaryland, though. Hillaryland is the name for the professional cult which had stolen Huma's life, demanding so much devotion that she had never even dated a single man until Anthony Weiner forced himself on her at age 33, and that she had routinely missed births, deaths, and weddings in her close-knit Muslim family. Of this nest of parasites and hangers-on, Huma said, quote, "Hillaryland is all about, what do you need? And let's get this fixed. Hillaryland is, how's your mom feeling? And you should talk to my allergist. Hillaryland is, happy birthday, an amazing job, and get some rest. Hillaryland is all of those things because Hillary Clinton is all of those things." Talk about Stockholm Syndrome. But for all its spin and obfuscation, Huma's memoir is also revealing. Because there's an entire generation of young people who started on ambitious, yes, but also idealistic, who are persuaded that the best way to do good was to prop up the status quo through power centers like Silicon Valley, well-connected think tanks, and establishment figures like Hillary Clinton, who made themselves feel good and progressive through cheap girl power slogans and the kind of hollow identity politics that leaves everything regressive in place so long as it has a multicultural sheen. Those young people are grown-ups now, and they run the country. And just like Huma's book and the Clintons themselves, it sucks. And Sagar, there was a perfect through line at the end of the book that said it all. Huma was like, hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.